Talk to Me. It's written by Danny Philippou and Bill Hinsman and is directed by brothers Danny and Michael Philippou in their first feature film. In this movie, a group of Australian teenagers get together to play with a disembodied, embalmed hand that lets them speak to the dead. They have to invite the spirits to possess them in front of their friends, but if they hold on to the hand for too long while they're talking to them, the spirits will want to stay. The movie follows Mia, played by Sophie Wilde, a teenage girl grieving her mom's sudden death who basically becomes an honorary member of her best friend's family because she wants to spend more time away from home. Now, I've been interested in this movie since I saw the trailer. Probably the biggest selling point for me is that A24 is the one distributing it, and they always do something interesting with horror. While I'm not a fan of all of the horror movies they've made, at the very least they do try to do something slightly different almost every time. So I was excited to see what this one had in store. And this was a nice surprise. The writing here, especially for the character work, was really well done. A huge issue I have with horror movies in general is when they have those stupid characters that make unbelievable decisions throughout, and it totally takes you out of the movie, you can't relate to them, and you're just disconnected. Here they do a really good job at automatically getting the audience on the character's side. These are younger kids and they actually seem like teenagers. There is silly drama with crushes and relationships that does feel very much like high school. The dialogue between them is also believable, but you understand where the main three characters, Mia, Jade, and Riley's motivations are. The movie spends time developing their relationships with each other, and that helps you actually care about them. And as I believe the directors have pretty much said, this movie is allegorical for stuff like online trends and participating in that, and peer pressure, and even possibly drugs. You can draw a lot of comparisons there. That was a really cool thing to see them kind of tackle in this way. I think this would be a pretty good companion piece with something like It Follows. The Philippou brothers also do some really solid directing here. I liked a lot of the camera work that they did, especially in the possession scenes. Just the makeup by itself for the possession scenes was pretty cool and creepy and kind of got the point across without going too far with it. It's all really slickly directed and they understand what makes these specific scenarios creepy. Like there's one scene that is just a wide shot and it's a slow pan across a dark room, and that always creeps me out. That's one reason that like something like Hereditary creeps me out, because you kind of have to find what's in the frame, and I always enjoy seeing stuff like that. The horror itself is fairly reserved throughout most of the movie. It builds up to the third act and the climax and everything, but it does take a lot of time to breathe between these scenes to develop the characters' relationships, which I thought was probably the best thing you could do for a movie like this. And credit where credit is due, the movie is gross. There are a handful of things that happen throughout that made me cringe, along with the violence in the movie. Also holds a lot of weight when it happens and had me really tense and just locked into what was happening on the screen. And just the premise itself was executed really well, because the supernatural concept of inviting spirits to possess you for fun with a group of friends can come across as really cheesy if it was in the wrong hands, but here it's handled well and you understand why these kids think it's fun, but you also understand the stakes there. And that's one thing this movie was also really good about, is establishing the tension of the story from the beginning of the movie, where you're kind of on edge to know what's going to happen in each scene, if anything will happen, and I love it when horror is able to do that. I honestly do think the movie almost could have been a bit longer. It's only 95 minutes long, and it uses its runtime well. I personally thought the third act would have been a little bit more effective if Mia's relationship with her dad was a little bit more well developed, and a couple things here and there could have been just tweaked a little bit to make it work a little bit more. But it still works really well, and it's a very memorable ending. I feel like it's going to be one that people are going to be referencing more than likely, or talking about. Also, Sophie Wilde in the leading role as Mia gives a really good performance. She's really entertaining here, and especially in the first couple of possession scenes, she does a really good job. And I'm excited to see what she has to do next. I'm excited to see whatever projects she has coming up. But overall, I did really enjoy this movie. I thought it was a very, very solid horror movie. It's probably going to be kind of the dark horse of the year in the same way that Barbarian was last year. While I do prefer something like Barbarian more than Talk to Me, I do recommend this movie. If you are a horror fan, I think you'll enjoy it. So I will be giving Talk to Me a B. And I'm curious to know what your favorite horror movies of the year have been so far. Let me know, and I'll be back with another video.